You transitioned recently from recording a lot of your own stuff and other people's stuff to wanting to play live more. Talk about that a little more. I want to hear about like just the aspect of why you feel that way and how you find as a musician. This is the main question: how you find as a musician that to be sustainable. Like how do you promote yourself for live shows? Because one of the arguments to some degree, and I'm curious your opinion, that I found, people are like, oh, you don't play shows as much as you used to. Like I used to play out a lot, and my response would be, well, like there's a lot more fish in the sea on YouTube than there are at this random bar that I'm playing at. And I have nothing against it. I loved playing. I loved especially playing my own original music at these shows and stuff, but there was like 20 people there, as opposed to like how many people you can reach online. So I'm curious your opinion. I'm not against them. I just want to hear your opinion.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and also as somebody like you who has 150,000 subscribers, YouTube is definitely a much more sustainable thing. I think for me, I transitioned to live music last year, and it was just a series of things that a series of opportunities that I was really blessed to have that came together. I made my first album in 2022, so that was 2 years ago now, and I made it all by myself in my room. I didn't have the money to, get producers or mixers or mastering engineers or anything like that. So I learned how to do it myself. And I
I
think
love that, man.
that's like the motto of my life. Like I never really had anybody who could do stuff for me. So I was like, okay, so I figured out how to use softwares and stuff. And I since moved to better things. Like I started my very, very, very first recordings were like on Adobe Audition. Then I moved to like Cakewalk by BandLab, and now I'm in Logic, and I love it. Um, but yeah, I made that whole record by myself, and I was just like, okay, I've been making so much music. I really want, like, my dream as a 16-year-old and seeing my favorite bands, like I was talking about records and CDs, right? And also being on YouTube and just seeing live shows. And I know you react to a lot of live shows on your YouTube channel as well. Um, just seeing all these bands play these giant festivals and stuff, that was my dream to have a band. So when I was in senior year of high school, which was in 2023, like January, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna look for just anything that I can get. I was like, okay, I don't know where I'm gonna find it, but it was good. I had nobody. I had no connections. My parents had no connections in the industry, right? So I was like, okay, I have to really build this from the ground up. So I went to guitar centers in New York, and then that was the very first, like, my first entrance into figuring out what the music scene was really like in New York was going to guitar centers. I talked to people, and I got literally no good conversations for a few months. And then one day I walk in a guitar center, and I'm talking to this guy who's like selling guitars, and he's like this old guy, and he's like selling guitars, and he seems interesting. And there's just also this other younger guy who's like sitting on the side playing another guitar. And I'm like, okay, I probably have more luck talking to the guy selling guitars, right? So I'm talking to the guy. Guy doesn't turn out to be that cool. He leaves. So I go and talk to the younger guy, and he turns out that he's my age and he's in a band. And this is really cool because I've never heard of anybody who's like 19, 20 or like 18, in a band and going around New York City playing shows. I'm like, how are you getting shows? And I was just bombarding him with questions like, how do you get a
Yeah.
band? How do you get your shows? How do you do that? How do you do this? Right. And he was just like, pointed me to a couple different places, a couple different organizations that throw shows. But in terms of getting a band, there's no formula to it.